Good morning, Calvary. Pastor Chad here with your word for the day. And, I talk about redemption a lot. And we celebrate God's redemption at Calvary all the time. I love when we celebrate redemption, hearing the stories of life change, seeing the evidence of life change declared in baptism. It just makes my heart greatly proud of being a part of this ministry. And redemption is God's power to work good out of the evil, out of the pain, even out of the rebellion of our lives to accomplish His purposes for His kingdom. And He blesses us out of it. And today's scripture is a story of redemption. We're looking at Genesis 45, and we've been talking about Joseph. And just to catch you up on the story, Joseph, his older brothers didn't like him. They sold him into slavery when he was a teenager. In slavery, he was a servant, and then he was falsely accused of sexual assault, and then he was put into prison where he was forgotten. And then, through God's miraculous means of redemption, he was elevated from prison to second in command of the nation of Egypt, which was the most powerful country in the world at that time. And he was in charge of their food gathering, and then, of course, during the famine, food distribution. And it was there that God's plan of redemption came to full redemption, because his brothers showed up wanting food, and of course Joseph messed with them to see if they were going to be real and be honest and be faithful, and they were. And then he kind of tested them again, and they passed that test, and that gets us to Genesis 45, where Joseph reveals himself to his brothers. And understand, Joseph looked like an Egyptian. He spoke the language, he dressed like it, his hygiene was like it, so they didn't know that Joseph was their brother. And Joseph couldn't handle it anymore when he saw that his brothers' hearts had been turned and they were repentant and they cared more about others than themselves. He started weeping, and he told them, "I am your brother Joseph." Now, he's weeping because his heart's so broken because he gets to experience a family reunion. His brothers are terrified because here's a powerful man that they have done wrong to, and they're expecting revenge. But Joseph explains to them how even in their disobedience of selling him into slavery, God was working His plan of redemption to protect His people and give them life through this famine. Now, that's a story of redemption. So, for us, what does that matter? I mean, this is a great story, and I hope that you really enjoy it because it's one of the most dramatic and powerful family stories in Scripture. But it means something for us. First of all, look for those surprises from God. Now, not every one of them is going to be as delightful as the surprise of Joseph, reunion with his brothers, but God's going to surprise you, and hopefully in good ways, but sometimes in not so good ways. But here's the part to take away. God always redeems our lives. If you're a follower of Jesus, you claim Jesus as Lord, you love Him, you're serving Him, God's always redeeming your life. It's a promise that He doesn't back away from. So you know that God is always working for the good of your life, your family, to bless you, to lead you to life, and just to pour out His grace on you. That's guaranteed. So here's the thing to know in that. Even, and maybe especially when you can't see how God is redeeming, be faithful. Be obedient, trust God, be patient with His plan, because God is going to redeem. Now, as I mentioned before, it had been decades since Joseph's brothers had seen him, and they didn't recognize him. They didn't see God's redemption in what they had done. So don't give up, because God's going to redeem your life and this world. That's His promise. So I hope that encourages you, and I hope you have a blessed day, and I hope and pray that God surprises you in a really redemptive way.